The show starts in 1 minute.
Please remember to replace the speaker on the post when you leave the theater. And now, on with the show.
Hello and welcome to episode 71 of Saturday Matinee Theatre, brought to you by your friends at the LONGBOX CRUSADE. We are back in jolly old England in a recording studio set up deep inside Sherwood Forest. I'm your host, Jared Albrecht, the yard sale artist. Some call me Sky Chief. And joining me, as always, is the Little John to my Robin Hood. It is Pat Sampson, a.k.a. DJ Cristados. Welcome back to Sherwood, Pat.
Oh, hey, Jared. I was just in the middle of thinking about something. Let me just finish this thought here. Change the oil, lube the lubrication radiator, and check the tires. Hey, Jared, is there a spot in Sherwood Forest that I could get, a good lubrication done?
I'm not going to answer that. Let's just move on. Wait a minute. I got a return question for you, Pat. This is not a visual medium.
Do you validate parking?
I do. This is not a visual medium. So those of you who are listening to the show, just hang in there with me. Pat, you got a ukulele with you? Because if not.
Well, I do.
Okay. That's all I need. That's all I need. Because if you showed up with no ukulele, I was going to be pissed off. So saith the Sky Chief. All right.
I see what you're trying to do.
It's twice I've slipped it in there. Also joining me is the ugliest maid Marian of all time. It is my older, wiser brother, Jason the Weasel Skull, not Sky Chief Albrecht. How are you today, Jason?
Well, I'm feeling like a Sky Chief, Jared, but yeah, Pat, I need some help, man.
Okay.
I got the law after me. What I need to do is to have you hide me in your basement. And then what you're going to do is set your entire house on fire. And that will convince the law that I went up in flames with your house.
Okay.
But really, I was hiding out in your basement. I make a clean getaway. Everybody wins.
Sounds like a good plan. Definitely.
Well, by everybody, I mean me.
Anything for you, Jason. Anything for you.
I'll pay you 3 guineas.
Just when you're down in the basement, don't worry about those sky strikers that are sitting there. They'll be fine. I think.
Oh, they will be fine.
They won't.
I'll make sure those sky strikers make it out in one piece, Pat.
Okay. Well, you guys discussed that. We got someone else to welcome to the show. It is our very own lovable Friar Tuck. It is Delvin, Silver Hands, the Dark Web, Pop Pop Hiss, Felix Leiter, sometimes Coffee Black. Pretty sure he's Pimp Destro. Definitely not Sky Chief. Williams.
If I can't have it, you can't have it, Jared.
Yeah, so I'm fine. And I just want to point out, even though we're not talking about the episode just yet, that Robin missed out on a prime opportunity because they're like, hey, we kind of heard you're an archer. And he's like, yeah, I fiddle around with archery or whatever. And then he could have shot it and missed and then surprise, I'm not really an archer. Oh man, that worked out much better than I planned. I'm done. I am done.
Oh well, now we've got all our inside jokes on the outside. We have a guest. He kind of lives here. We're gonna give guest status. It is our old friend Alan Porter, aka Tex. Possibly a Sky Chief, not certain, but we'll find out. Welcome back, Alan.
Thank you. Good to be back, guys. Back in Sherwood Forest, place I love. But I am a little late. I just took Jill down to the nearest gas station so she could admire the polished floors and the machines with the dials in and the shiny cans of oil. She was most impressed.
I can just see her oh, this is fascinating. He told, I know we'll get to it, but he showed off some machines. He didn't even say what they did. He was just like, look at these machines.
Hey, machines with dials on. They're so cool, man. So futuristic.
We'll get to it, folks. Alan, you get to answer the question that the guests get to answer.
Okay.
What is your first memory of Robin Hood? And what is your favorite iteration of Robin Hood on the screen?
Well, I actually don't remember a time when I didn't know about Robin Hood. I think I just grew up with Robin Hood. I mean, in England, I think it's written in the Constitution that there has to be a Robin Hood TV show every year of some sort. There's always was Robin Hood books on the shelf, still is.
All right, I'm going to stop you for a question.
Okay.
Because we've talked in the past about how you have James Bond annual, like annuals are a big thing in England. Did they do Robin Hood annuals?
Oh, I'm sure they did, but I also remember like if there was a general boys' adventure annual, there was probably a Robin Hood story in it. I mean, Robin Hood was, part of the mythology and folklore. Nobody had the copyright on it. If you wanted an adventure story, Robin Hood was the one to go to because nobody owned the character. So you just grew up. There was Robin Hood stories everywhere. So I always remember Robin Hood. The one thing I really do remember is actually this show. I think this was the first show that I remember a theme tune for when I was growing up. I still do that when I'm, if I get a cardboard tube and pretend it's a bow and arrow or whatever, I still do that. My kids hate it, but I still do that. The Robin Hood, I just remember growing up with this show. I don't remember any of the episodes particularly, but I remember, I think this was the first theme tune I ever recognized from the TV. But my actual go-to show when I was growing up was Rocket Robin Hood.
Say more?
Tweedly Dee, Rocket Robin Hood?
No, Rocket Robin Hood. Not the Jackson's version, not the Michael Jackson version, no. Rocket Robin Hood with a T, Rocket Robin Hood, was a Canadian Saturday morning cartoon with basically Robin and his gang living on Sherwood asteroid, and they all had jetpacks and spaceships and fought bad guys in space. It was awesomely bad, and it also has an equally memorable, obnoxious theme tune, which I've already supplied Jared with, and he's probably going to insert right now.
Come gather around me, space travelers surround me, hark now to the ballad of Rocket Robin Hood. I may well confound you, astound you, spellbound you with heroes and villains, the bad and the good. Watch now as our rockets race here from afar, for now with our Robin we live on a star.
3, 2, 1, blast off! Band of brothers marching together, heads held high in all kinds of weather. With fiery blast our roaring rockets rise, beyond the earth, beyond the skies, at the side of Robin take your stand. With the gallant leader of the band, send a joyous shout throughout the land for Robin Hood.
Well, Pat, it's the show, so probably, but
Yes.
but Alan sent me the theme and with the opening credits earlier today, and it looks so cool. It is exactly what we started. It's like futuristic Robin Hood. Like I used to watch Gilligan's Planet, if anybody remembers that cartoon. Same concept. Take something that's beloved on TV, put it in the future.
Put it in space, put jetpacks on their back. You're good. Yeah. So that was my favorite Robin Hood growing up. But as I'll probably be doing this again, not too distant, I'll leave the rest of my more recent Robin Hood memories for next time I'm on the show. But in terms of favorite Robin Hood, I'm going to split it. Today, I'll tell you what's my favorite Robin Hood movie. Next time, we'll do favorite Robin Hood TV show. So my favorite Robin Hood movie is the one that you all dissed on the last episode, which is the original Errol Flynn, Warner Brothers, Adventures of Robin Hood.
No, I like it. I like it.
Did we diss it?
You sort of dissed it, yeah.
Remember that.
Because everything else comes from that movie. Every other Robin Hood after the 1940s is based on that story, that look, those ideas. So to me, it's the quintessential sword fight, swashbuckling Robin Hood story. So that's the one. If I want to watch a Robin Hood movie, that's the one I tend to put on.
That's a good idea for maybe when we get one of those 10-episode landmarks that we.
I was thinking the same thing because I don't think I've ever seen.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Really? I've seen it. I've seen it recently.
Never seen the Errol Flynn one? Well,
I've seen it. It's good. It's got Basil Rathbone in it.
That's got Basil Rathbone in it. Yeah, he's the bad guy. Yeah.
Glad this isn't a visual medium so that the audience can't see the disappointing look.
The withering look, yeah.
Me and Pat right now.
I'm accepted because I don't see anything. I've watched 8 movies.
So that's my early Robin Hood memories. Yeah, it's pretty much there's always been Robin Hood as
all right.
been part of my life.
Peek behind the curtain, folks. We had other guests lined up for tonight. They got sick. Alan filled in, and Alan's booked to be our next guest. That's why he's going to give us the second half when we get back to Sherwood in a couple of episodes. With that, Pat, do your thing.
Well, Jared, I'm glad you asked. Saturday Matinee Theatre is a retro review, sometimes index show, brought to you by the LONGBOX Crusade, where we will be taking you back to the past with some potentially overlooked retro awesomeness in the realm of television, movie serials, or films. Basically, if it's vintage and it's kind of forgotten, we're going to dig it up. On this episode, we will continue our indexing of all 39 episodes of the 1955 television series, The Adventures of Robin Hood. 1955's Robin Hood was produced by Sapphire Films, run by Hannah Weinstein and Sidney Cole. It starred Richard Green as Robin Hood and Alan Wheatley as the Sheriff of Nottingham. So take refuge in the forest, take off your quiver of arrows, get cozy around the fire, and let the gregarious music of the merry men whisk you away into the past. But don't forget, stash your money in your boot, or you're gonna lose that loot.
Okay, before we hand it over to Delvin for this episode's info, let's take a look, or in this case, listen to a commercial that would have been playing at the time of this recording back in 1955. This will help us get in the right time frame of mind, if you will, transport us back to the 50s. You'll see why I'm laughing. for this episode's commercial retro rewind, we have Texaco.
Use the oil, have the car lubricated, check the radiator, check the tires. How will I ever remember all that?
Oh, wait a minute, ma'am. You don't need to remember everything about your car. All you have to remember is one thing. Get in your car and drive it to your neighborhood Texaco dealer. He'll do the rest. Let's try it and see. There, that's the place. Nice, clean-looking station, isn't it? You see, ma'am, cleanliness and efficiency are habits with Texaco dealers. Well, go ahead, take a look around. That's where your car will be lubricated with Marfac, the lubricant that gives your car that smooth, cushiony feeling for 1,000 miles or more. Notice that up-to-date equipment. Looks as modern as tomorrow, doesn't it? No doubt about the kind of service you'll get here. And remember this, your Texaco dealer has nothing but the finest of products for your car. For instance, when it comes time to drain and refill your crankcase, you get the best motor oil your money can buy. Advanced custom-made Haviland. And that new top-octane Sky Chief gasoline not only delivers top power, but it also protects your engine from wear, because it's supercharged with Petrox, Texaco's exclusive petroleum-based non-metallic additive that leaves no harmful deposits. Reduces engine wear. Yes, indeed. Take a friendly tip from Harry Von Zell and get acquainted with your neighborhood Texaco dealer. You'll find that he's an expert at keeping that car of yours running the way it should all the time. You see, he knows how busy you girls are, what with getting the kids off to school and doing the shopping and the hundreds of other things you do. And he's anxious to keep that car of yours dependable, trouble-free. Get to know your Texaco dealer. You'll find he's the best friend your car has ever had.
All right. Alan, you get to go first. I'm sure you saw no flaws in it, and it's a perfect commercial.
Yeah, in some ways it is a perfect commercial. It's a perfect commercial of how horrible things were in the 50s with the misogyny and the patronizing and the...
Didn't catch it.
Oh, really?
I'm a joke maker, Alan. I'm a joke maker.
In some ways it was horrifying, and in other ways it was funny. And I'll tell you what, I didn't dare show it to Jill, despite what I said up front. I actually thought about showing it to Jill, and I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. She'll kill me if I show her that commercial. It's do you know, the funny thing is, you mentioned earlier about all the when before we started recording, about all the brand names. You know, it was decades before I actually figured that actually Haviland and Texaco were even connected. I just thought one was gas and one was oil. It wasn't until I was probably in my teens or whatever, it suddenly was like, oh, they're the same company.
Maybe it's Haviland.
Yeah. But there was so many fun let's make up brand names in there that I was just cracking up at the let's make up a So
yeah, it was a whole thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I have a question for you guys. Was the announcer guy meant to be somebody famous?
Yeah, it didn't occur to me to think that he was.
Because he said his name like it was important, like we should.
Mm-hmm. They did. I have no idea who that was.
Oh, okay. I just wondered if it was some American 50s pop culture newsreader type guy I should have known, but nope. Okay.
Now, aside from a couple of appearances by Mike Wallace, I haven't recognized anybody. We've had Mike Wallace talking about Golden Fluffo. We've had Mike Wallace doing the penetration test. If you didn't hear that episode, I bet you have questions. But anyway, let's move on to Pat. What did you think of the commercial?
I liked it. I thought it was pretty clean, just like the gas stations that would go to, the super clean gas stations. You know, you don't find those anywhere anymore. I've done a lot of traveling throughout this lands of America in my life, and boy, would I kill for a nice clean gas station.
You make a good point, Pat, because there's a couple of gas stations that I will use on the regular just because I know how clean they are. Like there's one that I stop in my regular trips from here to Montgomery and back. Hey, just because I know how clean it is.
Buc-ee's have built a whole new brand on the fact that they're the cleanest gas stations, yeah?
Don't start me on Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's is amazing.
It is, yeah.
I still haven't been to a Buc-ee's.
Oh,
I don't even know. You're missing out.
You were missing out.
Oh, I see everybody talking about it on social media. Do I have one in Alabama? Do I have Buc-ee's?
They're supposed to open one in Auburn.
War Eagle.
There's a thought. I heard talk about it. So if you've been to Auburn,
yes,
I think there's a Buc-ee's nearby. I think so.
But anyway,
stopping by, cleanest bathrooms in Texas, so probably Alabama too.
Man, I well, going back to Pat's point though,
it's a general store. Also, I mean, you get spices and there's cooked meats. Oh, sorry.
Toys and gifts and yeah.
But going back to Pat's point about the commercial from 1955, there's a lot of, bad stuff about oh, I'm just a girl. I don't know how gas stations work and all that. But the good thing was, like, they took pride in the cleanliness. And that's, Pat, you made a good point. You don't see that a lot anymore. Jason?
They let her drive anyway. I mean, there's that.
There's
No, before Laurel starts getting complaints in our HR office, it was 1955. And yeah, not a good look by today's standards. But Pat took my point because I was just amazed at the cleanliness, not just of the gas station, but of the attendant. This one took pride in his appearance. He took pride in those oil cans. They were stacked up, dress right there, by the, where the car will pull up. So it's ready to go to put in your crankcase.
Yeah, you just don't see that anymore, that stack of cans anywhere like it used to be.
No, and then he had like 14 dials. It was like space age, 1955 space age, but space age. And I don't know what any of those dials did. I suspect they did nothing, but it made it look cool. So I was all in, man.
I was too busy thinking about, like, I got to pick up the kids, then I got to stop by and get the groceries. Mm-hmm. These dials look cool. Tonight. Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I'm just going to repeat what Pat said. Really impressed by the cleanliness, orderliness, and how everything was really, to use the military term, strack. Everything is strack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I'm not, it might have changed in recent years. Last I checked, I think New Jersey was the only place that still had gas attendants.
I know Oregon did. Oregon at least in the 2000s. I don't know if they
got rid of it.
That. I think New Jersey was the last holdout, and I don't know if they still do or not. Anyway, Delvin, you've got the mic.
On a scale of 1 to 10 for misogyny, like, in my opinion, it was like a 4. Like, but it did make me laugh because, like, the lady's like, oh my God, it's like 4 things. How can I remember 4 things? It's like, write it down. This is not an unsolvable problem, ma'am. That's all I'm saying. Like, they could have given it a more difficult thing. But what I did like is, I don't think they do that at gas stations anymore where you can get your oil changed, right? That used to be very commonplace. And now that's not the case anymore. So it is kind of cool that you had a place that you can go, you can get your gas fill up, you can be sitting in a nice, clean station that doesn't look like a bunch of grease monkeys are sitting around doing whatever. You can get your oil changed and everything, and you can see what oil, and then you got all the cool futuristic gadgets. So there were selling points that Texaco was offering. It was kind of like an all services gas station, kind of like Buc-ee's, but not without, not the cooked meats. But nevertheless, it was still a good idea. I was interested just in the premise because, well, no, I was going to say, you know what? I mean, maybe guys could go there to get their oil changed, but probably not. It was probably seen as like, you go to another man and get the oil changed. Oh,
hey man, I do it. I do
it all the time. Like if my hands got dirty.
I'm gonna clean my shirt.
All right.
Got any fresh meats while I'm waiting around for you to do my...
We're gonna do this around the room. Who here changes their own oil? And I'm betting it's only Alan.
Not for about 20 years.
Oh, I thought you were such a car guy that you would.
I am, but modern cars, I wouldn't even touch it. No.
Oh, anybody here change your oil? No.
Mm-mm.
No.
I used to. One of my jobs as a younger boy was doing oil changes at a dealership that I worked for.
Okay.
So I would do it.
I mean, I've changed my own oil back in college because, man, I wasn't about to spend that $14 on an oil change.
Same.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
I have changed my oil before, but like now, I make enough money.
Somewhere the Marlboro guy who just takes his car apart just to put it back together is extremely disappointed in all of us.
That's right.
in heaven, because he's dead of lung cancer.
See, I was told I couldn't do it anymore because I took my ratchet gun to undo the oil pan thing, and just oil just went everywhere.
I'm going to need that sound effect again. Excellent. All right. Now that we have all this, I can't believe we made it this far to the show. Let's get to the episode info. Delvin, save us all.
Episode 2 was titled The Moneylender. The original air date was the 2nd of October, 1955. The director, Ralph Smart. The writer, Ian Larkin, with guest stars Leo McKern as Herbert the Moneylender, Bruce Seaton as Will Scatlock, and Alfie Bass as Edgar. As a reminder, all 39 episodes are available on YouTube. We highly encourage you to watch this episode before proceeding with this podcast, because not only is it just more fun that way, but Jared is about to give a synopsis about this episode, and we're going to discuss it. There's some spoilers heading your way, so if you haven't watched this episode, we recommend you pause here, go check it out on YouTube, then come back to join our discussion. It's only 26 minutes, y'all. Not that big of a time demand. For those of you who are watching along with us, we would love to hear your insights. Don't forget to comment about the show on Twitter using the hashtag I'm following Robin Hood, and Pat is up.
Hashtag I'm following Robin Hood.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Jared, you're up.
Hashtag I'm following Robin Hood.
That's very, very nice, Jared. Keep it going, Jason.
Hashtag I'm following Robin Hood. And hashtag Jason equals Sky Chief.
What the? No!
Alan, would you like to participate in these hijinks?
Hashtag I'm following Robin Hood. And unlike the rest of you, I can do it in a British accent.
You have a natural cheat there.
Blimey, I can't too.
No, that was that. I don't know what that was. Hashtag I'm following Robin Hood. And with that, we turn it over to Jared for the episode summary.
Robin Hood has officially joined the Outlaws of Sherwood and finds himself under the leadership of Will Scatlock. That's fun to say, by the way. Will has been running the band of thieves for many years, and he's not so sure that he likes Robin's more strategic approach to the thieving game. Robin wants to be more selective in their victims, stealing only from those who deserve it. So Robin, with the help of Edgar, sets out for his first robbery. It's a cruel moneylender. After their successful and amusing theft, Robin returns some of that money to the poor people that the moneylender was preying upon. This, of course, upsets Will Scatlock. He wants all the money. But Robin points out that ingratiating themselves to the commoners of this land will make it easier to avoid the sheriff and his men. And wouldn't you know it, that exact thing happens when Scatlock makes an ill-advised raid on a wine delivery. One of the commoners that Robin assisted earlier sacrifices his home to save Robin and Edgar, which allows the wounded Scatlock to escape as well. Later, in Sherwood, Scatlock succumbs to his wounds, but not before realizing that Robin's tactics and leadership are sound. And Scatlock crowns Robin Hood the leader of the outlaws with his dying breath. Okay, it is time to get into those highs and lows, and we will start with Alan.
So I'm going to start with a high, and what I really loved about this episode was it actually gave a reason of how Robin started robbing the rich and giving to the poor.
Concur.
I think it's probably one of the only versions of Robin Hood where they actually explained how that idea came into his head and the first time he did it, and sort of it laying that foundation for going forward. So I really loved that idea. And the fact that this second episode in, makes sense to do that, just setting up the basics. But it's one of the few occasions I've actually seen it explained, and it made a lot of sense. That's, hey, this moneylender's been charging people twice as much as they borrowed. So we'll keep the amount that they borrowed, and the extra interest we'll pay back to them. I thought was really cool. So that for me was a high. It was like, oh, cool. But just a general, again, if you watch this watched it a couple of times. The first time you watch it, it's like, oh, it's a fun romp. And then you start looking at it and it's like, hey, this is actually addressing some pretty serious issues within the band, within the group. Like, like is Robin a freeloader to start with? Because Will's like, hey, you're not contributing anything. And Robin's like, no, we haven't yet, but I'm, eating all your food and taking shelter, and you guys are giving me security. It's about time I went and did something. So that battle for the leadership I thought was really cool. And then the thing of let's get the commoners on our side. That it's better to be ingratiated with them rather than be against them. Yeah, I thought it was, again, a really sort of multi-layered episode of this show. As I'm watching along with these, obviously only the second one, but really surprised revisiting this show, how deep some of these episodes are, particularly these early ones. So
I concur wholeheartedly, Alan. That has definitely leapt out at me is, like I say, I've only done 2, but they've done a real good job sort of just meeting out that, episode 1, we learned where Robin came from, what he'll tolerate, what he won't tolerate, and how he does his business. Episode 2, like you said, we learn sort of where that came from. Rob from the rich, give to the poor. How did that come about? Like, they're layering this really well. And of course, as probably as soon as you guys watched the episode and realized it was a lot about leadership, you knew I was going to run my mouth because, I teach leadership, but it was definitely a really cool case study for that. But I'll let other folks continue the discussion around that, and we will go to Jason.
I'm going to start out with a what the. When I first saw Will back in episode 1, I assumed it was going to be Will Scarlet.
Mm-hmm. That was my question too. Yeah.
And then it's like Will Scatlock. And it dawned on me, I haven't seen a Little John. I haven't seen a Friar Tuck. I haven't seen a Will Scarlet. I haven't seen a Maid Marian. So I'm kind of curious, like, are those characters going to make an appearance? And I'm a little bit worried. So Jared shaking his head, so it seems like I'm on solid ground.
We're gonna be okay.
Okay, yeah. It's just I was really confused by the Will. I was, oh, cool, Will Scarlet, and then nope, that's Will Scatlock. Who the heck is he? Doesn't matter. He dead.
Delvin, keep it going.
Boys, I'm really liking Robin Hood. Like, man, this was easy. This was an easy watch. 26 minutes went by lightning quick. Let's pick a high. I like the bond that Robin Hood and Edgar have formed. Edgar is very likable. They have a very good 1-2 combo going on. That was fantastic. And I really like Robin Hood's, he kind of had a laid back approach, but not laid back in a way that even denoted freeloader or anything. It was more like, I just saw, I can't remember who said it, but sometimes I stray away from these because it always seems to like go too macho or whatever, but some guy on some reel on Instagram was just saying that if you're an alpha, if you're one of the alpha people in the group, you're probably the quietest. And what was Robin doing for the most part? Taking in the whole scene. Like the whole time he was observing. He wasn't being overly boastful about any of his, past nobility. He wasn't being boastful about him being a military war hero. He wasn't being boastful about any of his weapons acumen. In fact, he was using it to teach. And only when Will Scatlock came and challenged him did he go a little bit more aggressive, and then just ended it with a bonk on his head, And so even then he had an opportunity to go overboard, and he didn't. He quietly bested him, but then went back to kind of that role of retreating. So tons of things to like about this episode, and that's a few of them.
Absolutely. They just keep layering layers and levels for Robin Hood. Jason was nervous that we haven't seen Mayberry and Friar Tuck. Like, they're going to layer that on too, apparently. Because
I just got to be patient.
I know they're coming.
Like, want that instant gratification.
I really like what they're doing here. What about you, Pat? It's your turn to chat.
I'm agreeing with what you guys are all saying here, is that, this is like a slow burn of Robin Hood and the lore that we know that's coming in. Like, Jason, I was like, was that Will Scarlet? Where's Will Scarlet? What's going on here? And so when you just read his last name, because I didn't know what his last name was, I just heard him say Will. I was like, oh, well, so that wasn't Will Scarlet that died. And I was like, why are they killing off Will right away? It's good to see what they're building up here. And this episode, compared to the first episode, this one was kind of heavy in a way. Heavy in characterization, heavy in just made you think about what was going on. Like Alan said, made you think about, oh, well, that's made sense of why he was giving back some money and why he was, getting the other townspeople or the people of the area to respect him, because he knows that he's going to need their help down the road, or at least, win them over to help them along any way that they can. So yeah, a lot going on here. I'm really interested in the ride where this will take us with this deep story. I hope it gets a little more deeper, and we have some fun along the way too. So
I concur, and I'm going to do something I don't normally do here. Is we break between that was our end of the first round of highs and lows, go in the second. I'm going to plug something. It's not a paid promotion or anything, but I was recently at Baltimore Comic-Con, and the Mad Cave Studios guys were there. They have a comic on the shelf now called Nottingham, which is basically a Robin Hood tale with a twist. It's told from the sheriff's point of view, and it's very cool. All I have is issue 7 that they gave me. They just gave it to me to read. I thought that was very nice of them. It's really good. So unpaid promotion. If you're into the whole Robin Hood thing and you kind of cross over into comics like on our other podcast, maybe check out Nottingham by Mad Cave Studios. It's written by David Hazan, and the art is by Shane Connery Volk. Check it out. Pretty cool. Anyways, with that unpaid promotion out of the way, just thought you guys, if you're Robin Hood fans, might like to know that. Let's get back to round 2. Alan.
So actually, before I get into my next high-low watcher, I'm actually going to pick up on the Will Scarlet thing, because I was with Jason and Pat when I was like, what? They killed Will Scarlet. And we're in the second episode. What the hell? And then I actually was looking on IMDb because the character's name was not in the end credits. So I looked it up on IMDb, and the character's name, as you said, was Will Scatlock. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. It's a different Will. Is there a connection? So I actually went and did some research. And boy, these guys are going really deep on their mythology here. Will Scatlock was actually, a character first appeared in 1598 in a Robin Hood play as Will Scarlet's half-brother.
Okay.
So, and then later on, the two sort of became conflated and stuff. So there's somewhere he's a completely different character, somewhere he's Will Scarlet's half-brother, and somewhere he is another name for Will Scarlet. But the fact that these guys, the TV show from 1955 is referencing a character that first appeared in 1590 in the stories in the 1590s was like, boy, these guys are going deep on their mythology.
Wow.
Yeah.
I learned from the Kevin Costner Robin Hood that Will Scarlet is Robin Hood's half brother, so is Scatlock his quarter brother?
Well, yeah, that's. I mean, everybody's got their own interpretation.
I figure that's pretty cool. 1858 all the way to 1955.
No, 1598.
Oh, I'm sorry. 1598 to 1955. That's a character that hung in there.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool.
No, I'm glad you did, because I even though I did the research and I knew it was Will Scatlock, hence my summary, I just thought he was a character minute for the TV show. I didn't realize that it was lore. Lore.
With what Ellen's saying, that it makes it even more impressive that they build up this character of who's the head of the crew right now, and how Robin Hood wins him over in the way, and you have that passing of the torch and all that. I like that.
Yeah. Though I thought the Robin Hood, the hood in the end was a bit forced with his dying breath. It was like, where did the hood come from? They've not mentioned Robin in the Hood or Robin Hood. It's just been Robin, and all of a sudden he pulls this word hood out of thin air. And
they mentioned it in the first episode.
Did they?
Very end.
Oh, okay.
At the very end.
Okay. All right.
He was like, now you're Robin of the Hood or something like that.
Okay, I will sit corrected then. Okay.
But he didn't say Robin of the Hood.
No. It just seemed very forced. So, all right. So my second go, I'm actually going to pick on passing the torch, as Pat mentioned it. The scene with the guy when they're hiding in the house, you sort of referenced it earlier on, Jason and Pat, with the joke intro, where to try and prove that he doesn't care about the outlaws. And he's like, well, if they were hiding in my house, I hate him so much I'd burn it down. And the sheriff's like, that's a good idea.
Uh-oh.
And you see just the reaction on the guy's face of, oh, shit. I was just trying to bluff.
He was talking to himself. Where's my wife? Where's my kids? Are they in the house?
Yeah. Oh, and then basically, it's, well, I was only joking. It's like, well, go do it or we're going to run you through with a sword. And it's like, okay, do I die or do I burn my house down and hope the two guys found the trapdoor, right? Yeah. I thought that was a great balance of humor and tension.
Yeah.
In just that one scene, which I think was indicative again of the whole show. You know, it had its humorous moments as well as the real tension. So I think that was my second high point was just the look on his face of the, oh shit, that wasn't really a good idea. So yeah.
Yeah. on the downside, he had to burn down his house. On the upside, I saw his house. I'm like, you could rebuild that in about 4 to 6 hours. I'm pretty
sure. Probably. Yeah. Actually, maybe he's planning on remodeling anyway. I don't know. I think another bathroom or whatever.
He did get that money back, so maybe with that extra money that he got back, he's like, yeah,
maybe he could claim on the insurance too. I don't know.
That's probably. Oh goodness, Jason, what do you got?
I think to build on what Delvin was talking about, I really like the character of Robin Hood, and it got me thinking back. You know, as I put myself in his shoes, this guy's whole world is turned upside down, right? We're only 2 episodes in. He's been away, fought in a war, came back, and everything's been stolen from him. Now he finds himself suddenly in league with these robbers, right? And so he's trying to figure it out. And we get to see him start to figure it out through this episode. Like his first robbery, he has to kind of talk himself up into it. He even asks Edgar, tell me something detestable about this guy so I can justify what I'm about to do. He's upset. His whole duel with Will Scatlock is around the fact that they robbed somebody that Robin himself respected and knew in his previous life. And that upset him. He's really in turmoil. And yet, Jared and Delvin, to both your points, he seems so relaxed as he's figuring it out. He's uncompromising in his principles. He's accepting, this is my life for now, at least. I've got to deal with this, but I'm not going to compromise who I am. And I really appreciated that new level of nuance in the character. I will say, though, in kind of a bit of a low, I want to see him up the hand-to-hand fighting to like another 40%. I want that Flash Gordon 39 level, you know? His bow and arrow works down point, but I want to see some improved hand-to-hand fight.
Fair enough. I think your points are all well made. And I'm backtracking to that Nottingham comic book just For the listeners, it's a mature audience's comic. Don't buy it for your kids. All right, Delvin, I think it's your turn.
We hadn't talked about the bad guy, the sheriff. Cunning. I think that if you have a great protagonist, then that protagonist is made even better by a great antagonist. And the sheriff seems pretty up to the task. Like when the moneylender was fooled, and first, he like showed a little bit of his ruthlessness, where it's like, I mean, you lost your money. I still got to get mine. So you paying up or what, dude? Like, so that showed he was kind of a jerk, but then it showed he was cunning, where as soon as he even heard the name Robin, is like, oh, hold on, wait, Robin? Really? Robin was one. It's like, all right, we got to set a trap for this dude. This dude is a problem. We have to take care of this problem now. And he didn't just sit back like one of a fat, lazy villain. He was out there in the field trying to take care of this problem, even to the fact that he, cornered that guy and forced him into a situation of like, oh, you'll burn down your house? Okay, do it. Do it now or I'll kill you. And it's like, okay. So the only thing that he didn't do, he did the bad guy trope of he didn't stick around and watch the body. Because had he may have figured out what was going on. That was his only flaw in the whole show, was that he kind of just walked away after doing the dastardly deed rather than seeing that the dastardly deed was done. Other than that, really good foe. So I'm interested to see how Robin and the sheriff clash in coming episodes, because I was really impressed with the sheriff too.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Pat, you get to bring us home. So if you got a bunch of stuff on your notes, now's the time.
I do have just a few things, and they're all kind of rolled up into one. I'm going to talk about the fight in this one. It was a good, I want to call it a shootout, because they didn't have guns. They just had arrows in this one. So it was, and you'd hear that arrow go by and, into what it would hit and all that. And I thought that was really cool. It's like, man, I haven't seen a good arrow fight in a long time. and I really liked it. It reminds me of just, going out as a kid with the bows and with the suction cups on the end, and you would just bing, bing. Lots of fun. But I had some questions on those arrow shots. There was a few that were a little awkward for me. And I want to start with at the beginning, when the guy asked Robin if he shoots, and Robin said, yeah, I do a little bit. I thought he asked him if he could, slice that arrow in half or whatever, right? Is that what he asked him to do?
It sounded like he said, can you split it?
Split it, yeah. And
that's
he did
what
it.
I thought he said too.
And he missed. Yeah. But then they're all like, ooh, man, that was a good shot. It was like, well, really? Was it? He didn't do it.
Yeah, I thought the same first time I watched it. And then the second time I thought, well, did they mean, could he split the log?
Oh, okay. Well, did the log split though?
I don't know, but I mean, it landed in the middle of the log. I don't know whether it was a term, but there was actually a couple of
splitting in the middle. Maybe.
Yeah, there was a couple of dialogue missteps as well. Just like with the money, the guy said he was robbed of £15, and then later on they said they recovered 15 guineas. £15 and 15 guineas is not the same amount of money. So there was a couple of dialogue slips, but.
I don't know, Delvin. I didn't grow up in Middle Earth either. I don't.
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't 1584, right?
Yeah. Okay. So then I'm glad I'm not the only one that heard it that way. I'm like, well, that wasn't really too impressive. Yeah, it's a good shot, but he didn't split anything.
It was funny enough that, Alan said, well, maybe split the log means like hit it right in the middle. And then the no prize I gave to it was, I thought, well, maybe by can you split it, they mean where, he hit it. The first guy hit it into the log pretty high up on the pole.
Okay.
By split it, they mean can you hit the pole in that space that he left?
That's how I know prize.
That's how I know prize. That, like, maybe that's what they meant, like split the distance.
Well, I kind of thought then too. I'm like, well, he's robbing everybody. We know he's a good shot. He didn't need to really play it off as like, hey, I'm better than you. Just let me, you know what I mean? I thought maybe he was just playing along with them to, get them to like him and all that, and just go, hey, I'm just one of you guys.
But here on Impact, you're on Arrow Watch. All right.
Yeah.
We all know a splitting of an arrow is like Robin's lore.
His thing.
We need to see this happen.
Yeah, that's why I was really thrown off. But now I'll go to another shot that Robin did later on during the fight with the guards and all that. It looks like he shot one of the guards in the nuts.
In the tummy feathers. Yeah,
I thought so too.
I was like, whoa.
Oh,
that guy
man.
went down.
Got one in the coin purse, man.
I was like, oh, the tummy feathers, no.
I was like, oh, wow, boy, that's a good shot there. So, again, lots of fun just watching that. And just, we're so used to nowadays just seeing gunfights or things like that. But it's like, oh, wow, that's how they really would kind of fight back then. So it was interesting to see.
They were splitting up there. How many arrows you got left?
I actually love that bit about how many arrows, because going back to Delvin's point about the leadership, Robin's leadership, I mean, he's splitting up the troops and he's like, you guys take the wounded man, and he actually gifts them his own arrow and collects everybody's arrows and gives the remaining ammunition to the guys who are guarding the wounded man and taking the wounded man to safety, while he and Edgar go off to basically to distract the sheriff's men.
Yeah,
with no ammo, no arrows. They are completely unarmed. So yeah, I thought that was a great point of him going and collecting all the arrows and giving it to the guys who need to protect the wounded man. I thought was really cool.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that, because for a second I thought they were going to go a whole other direction with that. Like, hey, give Robin the arrows. It's kind of like give Michael Jordan the basketball, right? Like he's clearly going to be the best shot. Just give this dude the arrows. But it was cool when I realized, oh, he's leadership moment. He's handing him over to save this guy. Very cool. All right, guys, any wrap up burning thoughts before we go to?
So as you guys all watched the first episode, which I did after I listened to your podcast, did you notice the recurring actor in a different role?
It's my fun fact.
All right, I'll shut up then. Okay.
The dangers of not sharing the script with Alan. My primo fun fact for this episode, I called it Evil Leo McKern. Because
all right. I'll shut up then.
Fine, all right. You're going to give me a perfect segue. So Evil Leo McKern. Leo McKern was the guy who played DeLille in the last episode, the guy who moved into Robin's house. In this episode, he played the Moneylender. So they got a lot of mileage out of old Leo McKern. And I will add an additional fun fact, related fact. I don't have it in the script, but I was refreshing myself on the Basil Rathbone Holmeses recently, and I was watching their very first one, which was Hound of Baskerville's 1939. And the guy who played Henry Baskerville was Richard Green. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool, because he's the guy who plays Robin Hood. And so it's like a melding of our Holmeses and our Robin Hoods. And then what fascinated me even further is Richard Green in the Hound of Baskervilles had top billing. It went Richard Green, Basil Rathbone, can't remember the lady's name who played the female lead, and then Nigel Bruce got fourth billing. I was like, wow, that's weird. But
Watson's in that story more than any of them.
Exactly right. But it was the first movie, so they hadn't kind of figured out there was a franchise yet, I guess. But anyway, I thought it was kind of a neat melding of our Holmeses and our Robin Hoods, that Richard Green Robin Hood was with Basil Rathbone Holmes in that first movie, 1939. So this was filmed 16 years on. And I got to say, Richard Green still looking pretty good here. he's holding up all right. He's doing good. All right, guys, with that, it's time to get into our arrow rating. All right, if you give it 5 arrows, that means you loved it. 4 arrows means it's very good. 3 was just good. 2 was just okay. And 1, I did not like it. It burned my house down. So 1 to 5, Alan, we'll start with you.
I'm pleading the Delvin fifth that I'm not going to give 5 this early on, only the second episode in. But again, this was surprisingly multi-layered, well-balanced, great character moments, great action, great fight scenes. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 4 because I know there's other stuff still to come. But I was, almost a 5, but I'm just going to keep the 5 back, I think, for the moment.
All right, so plead the Delvin fifth. It's more like the Delvin fourth, I think. But Pat,
I'm going to give this a 4. Like Alan said, it had just about everything in it in a short amount of time. Good character moments, good action. Scenery was very cool too, just to see them out in the woods like that. Yeah, 4.
Delvin.
Guess I'm pulling the swerve on everybody. It's a 5 for me. I mean, I gave the first one a 4, and usually how I work is I'm like, okay, I'm not just going to start with a 5, but I mean, last episode was multi-layered and interesting. And then this one was also multi-layered and very interesting. And I am really liking the character of Robin Hood. I'm liking how he ascended to be a leader. I'm liking the nemesis of being the sheriff and how dastardly he is. It's the basis of a very good show so far, and I'm really impressed. It's a 5.
Jason.
I'm going to be at a 4. I'm really liking the show as well. If you would have told me I'd be liking this better than Batman, I wouldn't have believed you till I started really watching the show. I think this is much more interesting, much more layered, and very entertaining. I'm saving my 5 for when I see some Little John or Maid Marian, or Friar Tuck. The split the arrow moment, that's what I'm holding out my 5s for.
I understand. I'm going to be the Edgar to Delvin's Robin, and I'm giving it a 5 with him in the forest.
Hey, there he is.
Like you guys said, this one was funny. It was a little scary. It had adventure. And you guys know me. As soon as they threw those leadership lessons in there, I was like, ooh, I could use this in class. And so, yeah, it's a 5 for me as well. So 4s and 5s all around. We got ourselves a mighty fine episode. With that, it's time to get into the Sherwood Forest mailbag. Of course, we're thrilled to kick off these comments with special shout-outs to our Crusaders Club members. These are our band of merry men and women. These are the fine folks who have joined our crusade. They enjoy early access to special Longbox episodes, voting on show content, raffle prizes, so much more. So these are the folks reaping the benefits and giving some much appreciated support to the show.
And Helica Wolf.
Auburn Elvis.
Blast it or stash it.
Braxton Underwood.
Captain Entropy.
Clinton Robeson.
Dave Battlewagon Collins.
Gary V.
Gerald Green.
Jason King, we think.
Jason Lady.
Jeremy L.
Jim Jarman. I hope you like Jim Jarman too.
Hadn't gotten old yet, Pat. 32 episodes to go. Wait, 37. Joe Thomas.
John Watson.
Josh Strickland.
Candace Ward.
Kathy Bright. The MVP.
Maxwell Traver.
Miranda W.
P.D. Devins.
Paul Hicks.
Rick, Jeff, and Rick present.
Rob Morgan.
Ryan Daly.
Samantha Maney.
Sean Urbanski.
Spidey 67.
Spreadsheet.
Steve Cronin.
Tim Price.
Tony Pennington.
And Toronto Cop.
Oh, the Sheriff of Northingham. Because he's a Canadian police.
Yeah, we got it.
If we miss anyone on our list, we apologize. We apologize for nothing else. If we miss anyone on our list, of course we apologize. Keep in mind we record these episodes well in advance for release, so if you're a recent edition, we will add you soon. But no worries, you can let us know that we missed you by sending an email to contact@longboxcrusade.com. We'll get it straightened out. And if you're asking yourself, well, how do I join this band of merry men in Sherwood Forest and become a Crusaders Club member? Well, it's simple. Go to patreon.com/longboxcrusade for as little as 1 guinea a month. You'll get access to the amazing world of the Crusade. I don't know how much a guinea's worth. $1, $1 American dollar a month. You get access to the amazing world of the Crusaders Club. Come check it out. Before I continue on that, how much is a guinea? Is that still a thing? I don't know.
No, it's not a thing.
Educate us, Alan. I have no idea.
A guinea is £1 and 1 shilling. So 15 guineas is £15, 15 shillings, which is 15 3/4 sort of.
Matt, you guys probably pretty good at math because I didn't follow any of that.
It's 27 groats and a perch. There you go.
Gropes?
Groats.
Oh, I thought that 27 gropes.
With,
whoa.
With love, strangled that dude with one. Anyway.
That's a garrote, Jared. Garrote. No.
I don't know.
Garage is where I parked my car and get my
garage.
Garage.
Is it a nice clean garage though?
Yeah, clean. All right, back to the show. No too gosh damn outtakes on this show. Now, if you don't have any extra scratch laying around, you want to help us out, maybe write a review for the show. If you're using Apple Podcast or any of the podcasters that have the review ability, maybe help us out. Say something nice about us. If we catch your review out there on the internet and we like it, we're going to read it on the show. Now we're going to get into our shares, retweets, and comments. Now, last time, I think we had literally 1 share. The good news, people, we've doubled it. All right. So I'm just going to get these out of the way, and I'll leave the comments to my peer. Actually, you know what? I think we have 2 comments. So here's what we're going to do. Pat, you can read the shares. Jason, comment 1. Delvin, comment 2. Pat, go for it.
We have shares from Tim Price and Xenozoic Xenophiles.
Woo! Jason.
Well, I guess I'll just take the top one here from Robin Hood Bold Outlaw. And it says, in the podcast, you suggest opening verses might have inspired the opening of the Disney Robin Hood. The 1955 Adventures of Robin Hood was influenced by a Disney movie. The 1952 live-action Disney film, The Story of Robin Hood and His Merry Men. Very cool.
That is cool. And I hope Robin Hood Bold Outlaw continues to listen to the show and comment. It sounds like a pretty big fan. Could be an alternate account for Alan, not sure.
I would say I follow that guy. He knows his Robin Hood mythology deep. He's the equivalent of the Bond lexicon on Robin Hood as far as I'm concerned. So.
Oh, now I'm nervous.
Yeah. No, he seems like a nice guy. I'm sure if we mess something up, he'll let us know in a nice way. Or it could be a gal. I don't know. Nice account anyway. So welcome, Robin Hood Bold Outlaw. We certainly hope you stay.
If you're on Twitter, you like to know things about Robin Hood, highly recommend following that account.
It's at Bold Outlaw on Twitter. Delvin.
The second comment is from Alan J. Porter, who says, oh, Robin Hood, this seems like an inspired idea. Thank you, Alan. It was. And if he were here, I would tell him in person.
He seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah. I follow him. Okay, so that's it for our comments, which is like, that's a pretty good amount for this show. If you would like to be a part of that, we're going to tell you where to find that in just a moment. I know Pat will, but if you would like to leave a voicemail with your opinion on the show, looking at you, Robin Hood Bold Outlaw, feel free to call in. Our phone number is 707-532-5269. That's 707-532-LBOX. Gentlemen, pick up the phone. There you go. You can call, leave a voicemail with your thoughts. We will put it on the show. I've had a couple of people mention that they wouldn't mind calling in, but they're kind of worried that they'll stutter or stammer on it and they'll sound silly. Here's a hint. We're going to edit you, make you sound nice. So
you just hear what I sound like before it's edited.
Whole thing, man. It's all magic. But if you have that concern, or if you want to leave a voicemail and you didn't like it, leave a second one. Say, hey, this is my second one. Please disregard the first one. We'll do that for you. So 707-532-5269. We would love to hear from you and play it on the show. Jason, take us home.
That's it for this episode of Saturday Matinee Theatre. If you'd like to hear more from us in the realm of comic books, check out the Longbox Crusade. Pat, where can they find that?
Well, Jason, I am glad you asked. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and mostly all the podcatchers that are out there now. We're also on www.longboxcrusade.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, all at Longbox Crusade. Back to you, Jason.
Well, thank you, Pat. And we also love James Bond within this group. So if you want to hear us on our track through all things James Bond, we go through the films, the comics, the original novels. We go through the music. We go through James Bond adjacent stuff like Man from U.N.C.L.E. We do it all, man. And you can find it on Her Majesty's Secret Podcast. Jared, where can they find that?
Of course, Christopher Walken's here for this part of the show. If you want to listen to the on Her Majesty's Secret Podcast, you go to Apple Podcasts, Google Play, your podcatches. It's out there. Go to www.secretpodcast.podbean.com. Go to Twitter at OHMSPod. And you know what? I once was up for a role in the Robin Hood movie. This one that Kevin Costner got. You heard his take. Here's mine. You tell me which is better. We take our chances with the ghosts of Sherwood, or we become ghosts ourselves. Yeah, you be the judge. Back to you,
Kevin. Kevin's better. So.
Hey, Delvin.
All right, I better step in at this point. If you...
I gotta wait for me.
You're definitely walking a fine line there.
I got invested in the part. I got invested in the part of the guy trying out for another part.
Chris is mean.
I think he would have been a good Sheriff Nottingham.
Okay, come on, guys. I gotta get through this now. Whew. If you'd like to chat with us online, we can be found at Delvin. Go ahead and kick us off.
You can find me on Twitter at DEE_RAY1977. What about you, Pat?
Well, Devin, I'm glad you asked. You can find me on the Twitter at Christatos01. Jared, where can they find you?
I am at Yard Sale Artist, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's all at Yard Sale Artist. You can check out my artwares, which does include a little Robin Hood stuff, at www.theyardsaleartist.com. Alan.
You can find me at Alan J. Porter on Twitter, Instagram, and now Hive. And you can also find me. You can find me my website at alanjporter.com for all my links to all my online stuff.
Thank you, Alan. And you can find me at Weasel Skull on Twitter and Jason Albrick on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Saturday Matinee Theater. Restock your utility belt and call in the Boy Wonder, because our next episode will continue our journey through the 1943 Batman serial. We'll see you next episode for Chapter 11, A Nipponese Trap. The meetup location, Gotham City.
Archers to a tavern on the green. They vowed to help the people of the king. They handled all the trouble on the English country scene and still found plenty of time to sing. Robin Hood, riding through the glen. Robin Hood, with his band of men. Feared by the bad, loved by the good.
This film has been flown to the United States via Pan American World Airways.
Outtakes.
And let the gregarious. What?
Jared, is it gregarious?
Gregarious. Okay.
Can we change this word so he doesn't have to trip up?
By episode 39, he's going to get it.
You're just being cruel at this point, Jared.
I am changing that.
Gregarious. Okay, I got it now.